My husband and my best friend spent their whole lives loving each other, yet never dared to cross the line. They remained faithful for decades. Her husband, Professor Morgan, also lived like a celibate monk all his life. After being reborn, I grabbed the professor's hand before anyone else could. I've been alone my whole life too, I said. Let's be together. Lung cancer drained the last ounce of strength from my body. Finally, I closed my eyes. But my soul didn't vanish. It simply left my body. I looked down at the hospital room, where my husband, barely in his 40s, and my childhood best friend were holding each other tightly. So intimately. So lovingly. They looked like two swans with necks entwined, whispering sweet nothings to each other. "Henry, don't be too sad," she murmured. "Jess is gone. But thankfully, I still have you. From now on, I'll stay by your side," she continued. "I'll even give you a child, and be with you forever." "You don't have to replace anyone," Henry said softly. "The one I've always loved is you." "Henry, I love you too." Bravo. Truly, what a moving performance. If I weren't a ghost right now, I might have applauded this shameless pair. I still remembered when Salma's husband, Patrick Morgan, passed away from stomach cancer. She didn't cry much at all. Instead, it was my husband, Henry Smith, who was red-eyed, fussing over all the funeral arrangements for her. He even told me, "She's alone now. You should check in on her more." Back then, I comforted Salma Scott. She said, "Honestly, I never loved Patrick Morgan. You don't know how much I envy you, having Henry by your side." I was so naive. I didn't even pick up on the undertone in her words. I hugged her and said, "We're family." Nor did I notice the way Salma looked at him, with a gaze full of affection. Now that I think about it, what I said was beyond inappropriate. 20 years of marriage. And I never noticed that they'd already been secretly involved for who knows how long. The grief, the resentment, the betrayal, they boiled over into a tidal wave of rage. My soul was dragged into darkness. And when I opened my eyes again, I was back. In a cafe, 20 years ago. My best friend Salma and I were sitting at a table with two others, taking part in a group blind date. Across from us was the young and very much alive Patrick Morgan. Back then, he was still a bright-eyed professor, wearing gold-rimmed glasses, delicate and handsome, like a character straight out of a manga. In my last life, Salma said she didn't like tall guys. After the group date ended, she took the initiative to ask Patrick Morgan out. They got together quickly and eventually married. As for me? I ended up with the leftover, rough and rugged Henry Smith. After countless days of strolling aimlessly through life together, we thought the other wasn't bad. So we ended up together. But now, looking again, it was clear. Henry Smith had been staring at the petite Salma the entire time. I made up my mind. I would strike first. Even if we didn't end up together, saving Patrick Morgan once in this life, was still a good deed. Teacher Morgan, right? I looked up with a smile. "I think I like you. Want to go for a walk with me?" Salma looked at me in shock. I had always let her pick first in the past. Patrick Morgan didn't respond right away. I thought he would reject me. But to my surprise, he said, "Sure." He stood up, picked up my bag for me, and said, "Let's go." It wasn't until we had walked far from the cafe that I finally came to my senses. I looked at him apologetically. "Sorry about what I said earlier. I didn't mean to make things weird. I'm not actually." "Not what?" he asked with a soft smile, gently pushing his glasses up his nose. "Miss Harris, you don't want to go on a date with me?" My rational mind completely melted under his smile. All that remained was my pounding heart. To be honest, Patrick Morgan didn't really fit modern beauty standards. Too refined, too delicate. He looked like he'd break doing manual labor. But when he looked at me, I heard my heart skip a beat. "You're not bothered by my background?" I asked quietly. Patrick chuckled. "I think Miss Harris is wonderful." Over the next few days, Salma didn't come looking for me. Maybe she was busy falling in love with Henry Smith. I couldn't care less. All I could think about was dating Patrick Morgan. In this era, love wasn't instant. Dating meant long walks and deep conversations about life and dreams. One day, I mentioned I had dropped out of school to raise my younger brother. That it was something I regretted. Suddenly, he cut me off. "Take the college entrance exam again, Jess." "What?" "Take the exam again. A diploma will matter more and more in the future." He was right. I'd been so focused on avoiding Henry and Salma in this new life. I forgot about my own future. But after a lifetime as a housewife, I didn't know anything about college entrance exams. I hesitated. "Can I really do it?" He took my hand. "Believe in yourself, Jess. You can." As soon as I got home and sat down, I heard someone calling from outside. I opened the door. Salma Scott was standing there, furious. "Jessica Harris? Why are you trying to steal Patrick Morgan from me?" Unlike me, who had to grow up early to take care of my siblings, Salma was always full of youthful energy. She yearned for dramatic, fairy tale romances. I had always thought that she and Patrick Morgan had just grown apart after marriage. After I got married to Henry Smith, we were busy with our own lives. We rarely interacted with them deeply. Henry was a skilled worker with a decent income. He wasn't the macho type, he was actually quite considerate. When I was pregnant, he'd come home early to cook. If I didn't feel well, he'd rub my feet and chat with me. Salma saw that once when she visited. She said enviously, "Your Smith really has a sweet mouth." I was proud, of course, but I figured Patrick Morgan must be sweet too. I said, "Morgan's a scholar. I bet he's even sweeter than Henry when he tries." But Salma frowned and shook her head. "Don't even get me started. He's such a boring nerd. Just looking at him annoys me. You know, on our wedding day, his mom already gave me attitude. He didn't say a single word. And that night? He wanted to touch me. As if. I was stunned. So, you two never? Exactly. Salma said proudly. A woman's body and heart must be in sync to feel joy. Otherwise, what's the difference from an animal? At the time, I didn't know. She really had made Patrick Morgan live like a monk his whole life. He only passed away from stomach cancer years later. That's when Salma came crying to me, claiming how wronged she had been. Looking back now, she probably hated Patrick Morgan all along. So why is she acting now like I stole the love of her life? I looked at her, frowning. You like Patrick Morgan? Then what is Henry Smith to you? She opened her mouth, but said nothing. I understood instantly. Oh, you're just mad I acted first. You don't care who it is, as long as I want it, you'll want it too. Right? Her face flushed red. You're talking nonsense. What do you take me for? Then what did you mean earlier? Unable to argue back, she started acting like a child. I don't care. I like Patrick Morgan now. You have to let me have him. I let out a cold laugh. I'm not your mom. Why should I give him to you? I'd rather give him to a pig or a dog than let a backstabbing snake like you hurt him again. I refused to back down. Salma stomped her foot in anger, about to say more, when a cool, clear voice interrupted. Even if she's willing? I wouldn't agree. Patrick Morgan had returned. He stood under the willow tree, gaze cold. He looked at Salma with disdain. And what exactly are you? Who are you to decide for me? Salma's face turned bright red. She looked at Patrick with teary eyes. But he didn't even flinch. Patrick Morgan walked over and handed me a set of books. I figured it might not be convenient for you, he said gently. So I bought them for you. His thoughtfulness fell right into Salma Scott's eyes. And drove her mad with jealousy. She turned away, looking utterly wronged. Jessica Harris, she whimpered, we grew up together. I always saw you as my big sister. Why would you steal Teacher Morgan from me? I really want to be with him. Please, can you give him to me? Please. Tears streamed down her face like a tragic heroine in a soap opera. Patrick Morgan, however, sneered. Are you deaf? I said, even if she gave me up, I still wouldn't like you. His voice was full of naked disdain. I glanced at him, slightly stunned. Wait, shouldn't he barely know Salma at this point in time? Lost in thought, I didn't notice Salma had already stormed off in a huff. He turned back to me. Don't you dare give me to her. Got it. I nodded. Got it. I took the books and returned home. Just as I walked through the door, I got smacked on the back of the head. You damn girl. Where did you get the money to buy books? My mother glared at me furiously. A friend gave them to me, I replied. What friend? Don't lie to me. Did you steal money from the house? Her face turned thunderous. Have you gone insane? That money was for your brother's nutrition. He finally gets a weekend off, and I wanted to make him a nice meal. You actually spent that money? That day was a blur. I barely remembered the details. I only remembered seeing Patrick Morgan the next day, while sporting a bruised face. Feeling awkward, I mumbled, sorry, the books you bought were taken by my mom and returned. His expression darkened immediately. Don't worry. I'll pay you back. I'm not worried about the money, he sighed, and said nothing more. That evening, Patrick Morgan showed up at my house again, carrying bags of fruit. I didn't know what he and my mom talked about behind closed doors. But after he left, my mom was all smiles. She looked at me cheerfully. Well, my daughter's got good taste, found herself a teacher. Jess, once you make it big, don't forget to take care of your little brother. I didn't respond. I just watched her happily skip off to the kitchen. Whatever. Once I get into college, I'm leaving anyway. I married Patrick Morgan. The day he brought fruit to the house, he was actually proposing. The wedding was simple and rushed, but every traditional rite was still carried out. I even sent invitations to Salma Scott and Henry Smith. Neither of them showed up. During the tea ceremony, my mother-in-law suddenly told me to kowtow to the ancestors. I remembered Salma once complaining about how his family made things hard for her, and my heart skipped a beat. Still, I obediently knelt down and gave 3 loud thumps to the floor, so hard my forehead turned red. That made my mother-in-law laugh. She rubbed my forehead with a smile and slipped a jade bracelet onto my wrist. Our family isn't wealthy, she said. But this is a family heirloom. It's yours now. Wait, this was the harsh treatment Salma had complained about? I stared at the shimmering green bracelet, emotions flooding my chest. Patrick Morgan reached over and gently held my hand. Mom gave it to you. Just take it. After the guests left, the house quieted down. I sat on the wooden bed, suddenly feeling a bit shy. Honestly, it was absurd. After I had a miscarriage in my past life, Henry barely touched me anymore. Even the rare times he did, afterward, he would lean back against the headboard and smoke in silence for hours. Only after death did I find out. That miscarriage was because Salma gave me herbal medicine that triggered bleeding. Patrick Morgan came out of the shower in clean pajamas, holding a towel. He walked over and helped me dry my hands. He had drunk quite a bit. His lips and the corners of his eyes were tinged red, giving off a quiet, seductive charm. What's wrong? He asked, voice husky. Afraid of me? I shook my head, pushing those thoughts aside. No child meant fewer attachments. It might be for the best. I'm more afraid of myself losing control, I muttered. Patrick smiled. Go take a shower. I've already prepared hot water. Face flushed, I slowly dragged myself to the bathroom. Halfway through, the light suddenly went out. Startled, I cried out and stood up. Only to see Patrick Morgan walk in holding a candle. He froze for a second, then said with a hoarse chuckle, my wife, is quite a surprise. What happened next was only natural. His kisses were fiery and intense. I melted in his arms like water, trembling under his touch. Just when I was about to pass out from pleasure, the lights came back on. Patrick Morgan's dark eyes locked tightly onto me, as if I were his entire world. In truth, I hadn't interacted much with him in my previous life. He always seemed cold and aloof. Salma said he was always busy with school after marriage, often sleeping at the office. From a teacher to a professor, he gave all his earnings to her. Salma was always dressed up, drinking coffee and shopping. He, on the other hand, wore the same 2 work outfits for years, both of them worn thin. Thinking about that, my chest tightened. Patrick noticed my change in mood. He lowered his head and kissed me. Jess, what's wrong? Did I do something wrong? I wrapped my arms around him tighter. You did nothing wrong. You're amazing. From now on, I'll treat you really, really well. He kissed me deeply. I heard him whisper something, but it was drowned out in a sigh. The next morning, I couldn't even get up. Face burning, I crawled out of bed with all fours. Only to be dragged back by Patrick Morgan. Where are you going? He asked groggily. To make breakfast. You're too tired after last night. Sleep a bit more, I'll cook. As I watched the red marks across his back, I buried my face in the blankets. Honestly, marrying Patrick Morgan didn't seem so bad after all. Life with him was so sweet I nearly forgot about Salma Scott. Until one day, Henry Smith suddenly showed up at my door. To be fair, even across 2 lifetimes, I had rarely been angry with him. For his time, he was a decent husband, a responsible father. His only real crime was that he didn't love me. But when he stood there and told me to give Patrick Morgan back to Salma Scott, I snapped. The rage I felt, I couldn't control it. And what about me? As if realizing what he'd just said, he opened his mouth and stammered, I'll marry you. He firmed his tone. You two get divorced. I'll marry you. I laughed in disbelief. Then what? We'll live happily ever after? Of course, Henry said. And don't worry, I won't mind that you've been married before. If heaven had a window into my thoughts, it'd see question marks exploding out of my head. I stared at him in utter disbelief. You think you're better than Patrick Morgan? Why the hell would I choose you? He blurted out, because you owe Salma Scott. What? Back at that blind date, she liked Professor Morgan first. You were her best friend, how could you steal her man? She's been crying every day. She's sick now. If anything happens to her, it's on you. Now I was sure. These two were absolutely insane. One loved taking what belonged to others. The other loved guilt-tripping people with self-sacrifice. I took a deep breath, suppressing my rage. Get out. Now. Or I'll beat you to death. Henry Smith, you and Salma Scott are perfect for each other. Lock yourselves together forever and stop hurting other people. That arrogant, delusional man. I actually beat him out of my house. He even tripped and fell face first on his way out. I stood in the doorway, hands on my hips, laughing like a madwoman. It felt amazing to be a shrew for once. But then, I turned around. Patrick Morgan was standing there, holding a box of pastries. He was staring at me. Crap. Did he hear everything? I froze, racking my brain to figure out how to explain. But to my surprise, he never brought it up. Not even during dinner. After my shower, I walked over to his study and knocked. He was sitting in a chair, lost in thought. When he saw me, he beckoned. As soon as I walked over, he pulled me into his arms. He buried his head in my chest and whispered, "Wife, I need to confirm something." "What is it?" He looked up and said softly, "Whatever it is. Can we just talk first?" He nibbled on my earlobe and whispered in a husky voice, "In the little garden, digging, digging, digging." My brain was still in a daze, wondering why he was suddenly moving so fast. Then, like lightning, something clicked. My eyes flew open. Patrick Morgan quickly covered my mouth. "Shoo, keep it down. My parents are asleep." My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might throw up. The lustful atmosphere was instantly replaced by shock and disbelief. You too?" I stared at him, eyes wide. He nodded. "Yeah. I was reborn too." No wonder. No wonder he agreed to go out with me so easily that day. No wonder he showed such unexplained hostility toward Salma Scott. No wonder he encouraged me to take the college entrance exam again. Tears welled in my eyes. That's amazing. Truly amazing. The fall of a once brilliant man, the suffocating injustice, was finally being reversed. He too had been granted a second chance. I leaned into his arms and gently wrapped mine around him. He held me tightly and carried me into the bedroom, laying us down side by side. Our bodies fit perfectly together. His arms gave me a sense of peace I hadn't felt in years. Eyes closed, I lay there for a while before asking softly, "What really happened between you and Salma Scott back then?" Salma had told me many times that Patrick was cold, withdrawn, hard to get along with, and annoyingly proud. I always thought those were the reasons their marriage had failed. But Patrick said he had been tricked into the marriage. "At first, I thought she genuinely liked me," he said. "But on our wedding night, she refused to sleep with me and cried, saying my mother humiliated her with that jade bracelet. I tried explaining countless times that my mom meant no harm. But she wouldn't listen. Later on, I even begged her, publicly and privately. Every time, she'd find a way to humiliate me in front of others. After I got cancer, she told me she regretted marrying me not long after we got together. But she didn't want to leave me because of my social status as a professor. She drained my entire life, and didn't even spare me after death. While my body was still lying in the funeral home, she was already clinging to Henry Smith, crying and kissing him. She told Henry she hated me. Said she must have been blind to ever fall for me. He said it all like he was telling someone else's story. But I knew, deep down, he was just as hurt as I had been. I gently patted his shoulder. "You don't have to say any more. I get it." And I did. Which only made my heart ache for him even more. Patrick kissed my forehead. Then he said something unexpected. "Actually, that day? I saw it." "What?" I sat up in surprise. He cupped my chin and kissed me deeply. "You used your handkerchief to cover the tear in my shirt. I saw it." In our past life, when Patrick died from cancer, he had looked peaceful, like he had simply fallen asleep. Through the thin wall, I overheard Salma complaining to someone, he was such a selfish bastard. Now I'm a widow before 40. My life is so miserable. I remembered looking at his body in the coffin, noticing the torn patch in his shirt. The man who had worked so hard his whole life, didn't even get dignity in death. But he was Salma's husband. I didn't say anything. I just took out a handkerchief I'd always carried, folded it neatly, and tucked it into his shirt, trying to give him a final shred of decency. Thinking of that, Patrick choked up. He pulled me closer and kissed me harder. In that emotional moment, tears actually fell from his eyes. "Jess, thank God for you. This life, let's live it well." We hugged in silence for a while. I finally chuckled. "Really? That garden rhyme was the best you could do? That's such an old joke." His ears turned pink as he scratched his head. "A student told me about it." I threw myself into studying for the college entrance exam. Patrick also started preparing to take computer science certification exams. The next few decades would be the age of the internet. We couldn't afford to miss it. Between our studies, we heard the news Salma Scott and Henry Smith were getting married. She even sent someone to deliver a wedding invitation. She and I had been like sisters for half our lives. Never did I think we'd come to this because of a man. I decided to attend, just to see. Would marrying Henry Smith really give her the happiness she wanted? On the wedding day, she wore a red dress. Her face was expressionless. Henry, on the other hand, was beaming. He drank his way from one end of the banquet hall to the other. Drunk and wobbly, he reached for Salma's hand. She immediately pulled away. I saw the whole thing. And honestly, I didn't know what to feel. Around 4 p.m. Patrick came to pick me up after class. He was wearing a new shirt and trousers I had picked for him, looking sharp and charming. I couldn't help but give him 2 kisses. As I climbed onto his bike, I caught Salma's gaze. She had clearly seen him too. Her eyes flashed with surprise, maybe even a little awe. But Patrick only looked at me. Smiling, he bent down to adjust the cuffs of my pants and said, "Ready? Let's go." A few days later, Salma knocked on my door. She looked awkward, but forced a soft apology. "Jess? I was wrong. Please don't ignore me." I didn't say anything. Just let her come in and sit for a bit. After that, it was like she'd forgotten all about our fight. She kept showing up every few days. Sometimes around dinner, she'd glance at the doorway and ask, "Is Teacher Morgan not back from work yet? He's working so hard." The Teacher Morgan she was asking about had been deliberately taking evening classes for a week straight, just to avoid her. I didn't expose her little tricks. I simply smiled. "He's been busy with work lately. Probably home late." Salma responded with a disappointed "oh." I looked at her and asked, "Shouldn't Henry Smith be home soon? Aren't you going to make him dinner?" She rolled her eyes. "He can eat whatever. Always comes home stinking. Still wants me to serve him like some master? In his dreams." I didn't comment. After sending her off, Patrick finally dared to come home. He frowned and grumbled, "When are you going to cut her off? I've been hiding at school every day. I miss you." Maybe it was the build-up of 2 lifetimes. But Patrick Morgan now acted like a clingy cat who discovered forbidden snacks. Privately, he was shamelessly affectionate. His flirtation grew bolder by the day. I'd blush at some of the things he whispered. One time, I gently pushed him away, joking, "After I finish the college entrance exam and you pass your computer certification, let's move to the capital. Right now, we're still living among these nosy neighbors. It'd be a mess if things went sour." He kissed me. "Okay. Whatever my wifey says." But no matter how long he dodged, Salma eventually caught him. It was a rare weekend. She showed up early in the morning, knocking on our door. As soon as she came in, she saw Patrick sitting on the couch. Her face turned red. She rushed over, smiling shyly. "Teacher Morgan." "What do you want?" he said coldly. He glanced toward the kitchen, where I was, then instinctively scooted away from her. But Salma didn't care. She plopped down beside him. "I heard you're a teacher. There are some words in my books I don't understand. Can you help me?" She wore a cross-collar dress with a plunging neckline, exposing a generous amount of cleavage. Patrick's gaze was sharp with disgust. His voice turned ice-cold. "Miss Scott. Please behave yourself. My wifey is right there in the kitchen." He stood and walked off without another word. Salma's eyes turned red with frustration. She bit her lip in anger, then turned around and met my cool stare. Caught off guard, she stammered, "Jess, are you done cooking?" I gave a soft laugh. "If I weren't, I wouldn't have seen such a good show." I don't know what you're talking about," she mumbled, pretending not to understand. Then she quickly changed the subject. "Wow, Jess. You have so many books here. Are they all Professor Morgan's?" "Nope," I said calmly. "They're mine. I'm preparing for the college entrance exam." Sure enough, Salma Scott's expression shifted slightly. She forced a smile. "Why, though? You're already married. Why put yourself through so much? Is Teacher Morgan not treating you well?" I shrugged. "Nope, he's great. He's the one who told me to take the exam. He said once I get in, he'll help me find a job at his school." Her face instantly fell. In her heart, she had always believed she was better than me. She couldn't help but compare everything, our looks, our lives, our husbands. In the past, I never noticed. I kept thinking about our friendship. If she wanted to compare, I let her win. If she wanted sweet words, I gave them to her. I gave in to her in everything. And yet, she still managed to flirt with my husband in front of my corpse. Now that I think about it, how much of Henry Smith's coldness toward me came from her influence? And how proud must she have felt, knowing my husband had stayed faithful to her all those years? "Fine, Salma Scott. If you love competing so much, I'll make sure you'll never beat me again for the rest of your life." After that day, she didn't contact me for a while. Which was perfect, because I was completely focused on studying. One day while visiting my parents, I overheard my mom gossiping. She said Salma had a huge fight with her husband. Apparently, Salma had insisted she wanted to take the college entrance exam too. Henry Smith, being a blue-collar worker, had no idea what that entailed. He just figured if she wanted to study, so be it, so he bought her some books. But after 2 days of reading, Salma's head hurt so much she got dizzy. She then picked a fight with Henry and ended up slapping him, hard enough to leave a wound on his face. When I heard this, I felt immensely satisfied. Karma's a beautiful thing. I dived even deeper into my studies. The night before the exam, Salma suddenly came to my house. She brought a pot of chicken soup. "Jess, I made this specially for you," she said. "It's from an old hen my mother-in-law raised for 3 years. It's really nourishing. Try it." I looked at the golden soup with a smile. "Yeah. I don't think I dare drink this." "Why? You think I put something in it?" Didn't even need to interrogate her. She confessed on her own. I raised a brow. "Exactly. I'm afraid you drugged it." She flushed with anger, her eyes flashing with resentment. But she quickly forced a smile. "We've been sisters for over a decade, Jess. You still don't trust me? That really hurts. If you don't believe me, I'll drink it first." She poured a bowl, gulped it down in front of me, then refilled another one and handed it to me. "See? Now do you believe me?" Watching her trying so hard to prove herself, I chuckled. "I believe you. But..." Before I could finish, Patrick Morgan's voice called out from behind, "Jess. Mom's looking for you, come in quickly." "Coming," I replied cheerfully. Without sparing Salma another glance, I said goodbye and followed Patrick back inside. The next day, Patrick Morgan took a special leave just to accompany me to the exam. When I came out of the exam hall, he handed me a thermos and said, "By the way, Salma had diarrhea all night yesterday. She ended up in the hospital." I burst out laughing. How did she manage to fool me for over 20 years with that kind of brain? Patrick grinned. My words amused him too. He wiped a bit of water from the corner of my mouth. "Well, we're a couple of survivors. We both tripped over the same rock in our past lives. Let Henry Smith enjoy the leftovers. As for us, we're going to live a good life." We strolled home hand in hand. But just as we reached the doorstep, we saw someone squatting in front of the door, looking like a giant sad chicken. "Henry Smith. What are you doing, crouching out here like that in the middle of the night? You scared me." He looked up, eyes full of emotion. When he saw me, he rushed forward like he wanted to hug me. But when he saw my hand in Patrick's, he stopped, staggered back 2 steps. "Why?" he asked, voice trembling. I raised an eyebrow. "What? Why did you choose him?" Confused, I replied, because he's handsome and has a good body? I mean, wait, no, that's not what I meant." "You're supposed to be mine," he said suddenly, grabbing my wrist. "Jessica Harris, you were supposed to marry me. We had a child once. Did you forget?" His hand was ice cold. His grip was frighteningly strong. And just like that, I realized. Henry Smith had been reborn too. Patrick immediately pulled me behind him. "Henry Smith, what the hell are you doing? Barging into someone else's home in the middle of the night and acting insane? Let go of my wife." "Shut up. She's my wife. We lived together for 20 years. I buried her with my own hands. Who the hell are you to steal her from me?" That was it. I couldn't take it anymore. I raised my hand and slapped him hard across the face. "So you do remember I was your wife?" My voice was cold and sharp, like ice slicing through bone. "Then tell me, when you were cuddling Salma Scott in front of my corpse, when you were kissing her and saying you loved her. Did you forget all that? Weren't you her one true love? Didn't you remain faithful for her? Didn't you emotionally abuse me for years? Henry Smith, we were married for 20 years. You know damn well how you treated me. Do you know why I died? Why I got lung cancer? It was because of you. You smoked in the bedroom every day. You were always thinking about Salma Scott. I was only 40, you jerk." The pain and resentment from my past life surged back. My whole body trembled with rage. This pathetic man, who abused me with silence and indifference, still had the nerve to show up here, righteous and loud. "Henry Smith," I hissed, "tell me. If it weren't for Salma Scott, would I have had that miscarriage?" He staggered back, looking horrified. Guilt. Regret. Sorrow. All of it flashed across his face before he finally collapsed to his knees. "I'm sorry, Jess. I was wrong. Please, forgive me. I can't live without you." I looked down at him. Dirty uniform. Sweat. Stink. I could imagine how miserable his life must have been after marrying Salma. It was nothing like when he was with me, hot meals, warm beds, everything taken care of. Was he here because he missed me, or just missed having a maid? Even he probably didn't know. Patrick and I stood there watching him cry for a while. Then we exchanged a glance. Patrick stepped forward, pried his hand off me, and said coldly, "If you truly love Jess, I'll compete with you fair and square. After you get divorced. But your wife's still in the hospital. Go take care of her. Dragging Jess into your drama is just ruining her name." He pulled me inside the house. Once we were alone, I leaned close and asked, "If Henry really does get divorced, would you really let me go?" Patrick pinned me to the wall and kissed me hard. "Hell no." I lied to him. "Don't even think about it. You're mine." The college entrance exam results came out. I got into a top university in the capital. After discussing it with Patrick and his parents, we decided to sell the house and move to the capital as a family. While we were packing, word spread. Salma Scott had asked Henry Smith for a divorce. And this time, Henry didn't try to stop her. They filed the papers quickly. In our small town, divorce was still a scandalous thing. Everyone started gossiping about who cheated. While I was out grocery shopping, Salma Scott sneaked into my house. Since we were in the middle of moving, the door had been left open. She went straight up to the second floor, where Patrick Morgan was organizing his books. He turned around, only to find Salma, completely naked, lying on our bed. It scared the hell out of him. What the hell? Are you insane? Put your clothes back on. Salma wasn't fazed at all. She got up slowly, walking toward him step by step. Honey, I know you've come back too. Last time, it was my fault. I shouldn't have ignored you. She'd done her makeup, curled her hair, and wore nothing to hide what she thought was her advantage over me. As she sauntered toward Patrick, her eyes were seductive, her every move laced with temptation. She thought, men are easy. Coax them, tempt them, there's nothing you can't get. That's how I made Henry Smith betray everyone last life. Why wouldn't this stiff teacher fall for me now? But she had underestimated Patrick Morgan. And his pride, and sense of integrity. His face went cold. He bolted downstairs, ran into the street, and shouted at the top of his lungs, "Whose old sow got loose? She's lying naked in my house." It was dusk. Neighbors were just getting off work, standing around chatting at their doors. Hearing this, they all rushed toward our house in curiosity. Salma didn't even have time to put her clothes back on. She was seen stark naked by every man, woman, and child on the street. I returned with the groceries just in time to hear a scream from upstairs. Amid roars of laughter, Salma burst out of the house wrapped in a blanket. As she passed me, she gave me a venomous glare. I immediately realized what had happened. I instinctively looked for Patrick. And found him leaning against a wall, arms crossed, watching me from a distance through the crowd. His thin lips curved into a smirk. Silently, he mouthed, "Come here." I squeezed through the crowd and walked up to him. Behind us, people were still whispering, "Wow, Salma's legs are pretty nice. She's got a figure, I'll give her that." But I didn't hear them. I was too wrapped in Patrick Morgan's warmth. He grabbed my hand, kissed me proudly like showing off a prize, and said, "Wifey, I finally got revenge for us today." I chuckled and patted his head. "You, sir, are a man of virtue. Resisted temptation. Bravo, Professor Morgan." He winked. "Then tonight, I expect a special reward." Gossip flew like it had wings. By the next day, the whole town was laughing at Salma Scott. Her parents, ashamed beyond words, locked her inside and beat her half to death. My mom told me her father lost control and left a long scratch across her face with a stick. It likely wouldn't heal. I got into a top university. Patrick Morgan was admitted to the same one. I majored in literature, and he studied computer science. After graduation, he stayed to pursue a PhD. I joined a rising top-tier company. That first year, we bought our first home. And brought Patrick's parents to live with us. Thanks to a decent budget, it was a spacious 4-bedroom place. We lived comfortably. 2 years later, Patrick became a faculty member. We'd saved enough to buy another smaller apartment as an investment before prices skyrocketed. That year, I got pregnant. The baby wasn't very stable at first, so I took extended leave to rest at home. Patrick's parents were still active in their own careers. Worried they might disturb us, they moved into their company's staff housing. Our life was calm and full of happiness. To make up for the regrets of the past life, I loved buying clothes for Patrick, dressing him up stylish and dashing. Students often complimented him on his charm. He just shrugged it off, letting me do as I pleased. Once I was done pampering him, he'd start bargaining for his own rewards at night. In our past life, both Patrick and I had died of cancer. So now, we went for a full health checkup every year. Thankfully, the results were always excellent. I knew my lung cancer came from years of secondhand smoke. But I never knew why Patrick had gotten stomach cancer. Until one doctor told us, the gut is the seat of emotions. Long-term stress damages it. Patrick hugged me and whispered, "Maybe it's because I'm truly happy this time, so my stomach's fine." Still, I put him on a strict and balanced diet. After 5 years of marriage, our love hadn't faded with time, it had only grown deeper. At 7 months pregnant, he accompanied me for a prenatal checkup. As soon as we stepped into the hospital lobby, we heard a familiar shouting match. Not far away, Salma Scott stood with a huge belly, screaming at a man. "You're worthless. Can't even provide for your wife and kid. What kind of man are you?" The scar on her cheek twisted with every word. So jarring it was hard to look away. The man roared back, "Shut up. If it weren't for you forcing me to quit my job and move north, I wouldn't have gotten into that car crash. Now I'm disabled. I've lost my arm and can't find work. And you still complain? This is all your fault, you damn jinx. It was Henry Smith. After all that, they were still together. Henry's clothes were filthy. His skin was darker. His right sleeve was empty and swinging. With a twisted face, he lunged at Salma. It's all your fault. I could have had a great wife. A stable job. We could have bought a car, a house. I would have become a chief engineer, respected by everyone. You ruined everything. He was quickly restrained by onlookers. The frustration and helplessness finally crushed him. Henry collapsed to his knees, covering his head in tears. Why did you come back to me, why? Even now, he blamed everything on Salma. Salma's eyes were cold and sharp. I knew it. You never got over Jessica Harris. If you liked her so much, why didn't you go to her? Why insist on staying with me in our past life? You were always half in, half out. You deserved to lose that arm. It's karma. At that moment, she and I locked eyes. This time, she didn't come after me. She simply turned and walked upstairs. Henry knelt there for a long time before he finally stood and limped away. Patrick and I exchanged a glance, and silently decided to pretend none of it had happened. After the checkup, he wrapped his arm around me as we walked down the stairs. Wifey, he said. Having you is the best thing that ever happened to me. This man. I smiled and squeezed his hand. You're the best thing that ever happened to me too. We both knew. Watching that scene earlier, we had both felt the same strange emptiness. Two people, both wronged, both reborn. Now with a second chance, a child, and each other. Wasn't that like a dream? Maybe that's why we both clung so tightly to this present. Just as we stepped outside the hospital doors, a loud noise rang out. Someone jumped. Quick! Get a doctor. He's bleeding badly. Look. He's missing his left arm. Life must have been too hard. Where's his family? Sigh, who knows? From the corner of my eye, I glimpsed a familiar brown blur. But Patrick and I, in quiet agreement, didn't look back. We walked to the parking spot. Patrick opened the passenger door for me, fastened my seatbelt, kissed me on the cheek, then covered my legs with a small blanket. Let's go home, wifey. Yep. Let's go. Baby, time to go home and eat dinner. Behind us, doctors rushed out one after another. Whether he lived or died, we never looked back to find out. We also passed someone else. A pregnant Salma Scott, running up the steps in a panic. The car drove off into the distance. In the end, we were never meant to be on the same path.